I could think of something for their house that's, nothing elaborate, but a gesture. Just something like, I know maybe bring people housewarming gifts when they move in somewhere, but we could bring them a belated housewarming gift for us moving in here.
Well,
Like,
we're talking about our landlords, neighbors, friends, Rita and Dan, and uh, my sweetheart just went over and talked to Dan while he was out in the yard, which they don't bother us. Almost, they rarely even interrupt us or anything, which is what I love about. I've lived right beside my landlords before, and trust me, I don't enjoy it. This is different. They're really, 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 really cool.
they're the only people around that we're necessarily in contact with at all up here. They pretty much leave us be, but if we have to live near two people, I can't think of two nicer people to
They're perfect
to live near.
for us. They're really laid back. They're really cool. They're generous, helpful. They go out of their way to come. When they do come over, they're concerned about us.
Yeah.
They're like coming over to check on our water, to check on our, if we're warm enough, to that kind of stuff. And they've accommodated us with storage here and everything because they have a little place where we can store stuff. They're letting us store our stuff. They've cleaned up our trash. I mean, we've said these things, and we've done basically nothing for them. I mean, we've said, oh, we'll help you clean that up on Saturday, and then we're not even around on Saturday. And I've told Rita later, I can't make any commitments to anything until I graduate. After that, I can help you, but I don't like not keeping my commitments. So, I think, oh my gosh, surely we can squeeze that in. No, we can't. But what we do want to do, we want to contribute to this place that is a paradise for us. And it's more than paradise because I've lived in mansions where I felt miserable. This is true paradise. This is where I feel genuinely welcomed here, genuinely safe, genuinely cared for, And how did that happen? I don't know how that happened because I'm used to living in places where they police me, where they stand over me, and I feel like they're just waiting to come up with an excuse to banish me, for lack of a better word. And I don't feel that way here. I feel really respected, understood as a human being. I don't think that's overstating it.
Certainly, at the very least, respected. I don't know, to show a person that much respect takes an understanding of human beings in general.
And we're different from them. We're very different. They're very practical, very,
they seem
grounded,
down to earth in a way.
Down to earth. We are down to earth, but they're down to earth in that they can, they have practical skills. They can fix things. They can... And we are like, where's the plug-in? Where's the outlet? How do you turn on the light? And we must seem like, not seem like space cadets. We are fucking space cadets, honey. And they're not. And yet they seem to appreciate us, And yet they have artistic qualities that are rather stunning that I've noticed.
Indeed.
And we'll talk more about that. But what we want to do is contribute, and let's think about it, because the best way we can contribute is through our art. And I'm not saying a painting but maybe a film dedicated to them, and maybe something more than that, something that they could keep in their house too, but not. We don't want to clutter up people's houses either. I've had people give me gifts when. There's Rita.
Oh, no.
I've had people give me gifts and then have the person in my life go, that takes up too much space. Why did they give you that? And I'm like, then it ends up thrown away or stored away.
Right.
I don't want to do that. I want something that they're going to... They both love film, honey, and we can make them a film.
I've got some ideas,
Okay.
You're saying this is like spawning some ideas, so.
Okay, cool.
That stuff we'll leave off the camera, but.
Sure.
I do want to listen to Dennis's CD that he gave us.
You
He's a
mean
fantastic. Oh shit.
It's okay.
We'll
Eventually,
ask them about
we're
that
gonna have to
tonight.
change their names, but
Yeah.
if we don't get permission, then we'll
Then
bleep
we'll have
it out.
to, be doing a little DOA.
I'm
or
almost to the
whatever it
point
is.
where I'm calling them by their phone names in person.
That's better,
Yeah.
at least for now. I'd be a terrible secret agent.
Honey, it's like we watched The Count of Monte Cristo. This is a letter for not Carry On, but like
Napoleon.
no, like the dude's
No,
real name
Napoleon.
is like John. This is a letter for John. I mean, Carry On. I mean, John. I mean, shit.
Joe. That would be me.
Carry On. Oh, it's a good name to be named after a
A bird of
scavenging
prey.
bird. Actually, it wasn't a bird. That's not a bird. That's just like what the bird eats.
Oh, you're right.
But anyway, are you done eating, honey?
Yeah.
Okay. Dobby's under here staying warm. I'm ready to do your makeup.
Okay, I'm almost ready. Huh?
We live to do this stuff.
Well,
guys.
anyway, Dan is a fantastic guitarist, and
Yes. And I was gonna leave that part off, but now we're going there. But that's cool. He's a superbly talented guitarist. It reminds me of. What does it remind me of, honey? I don't know. He writes his own stuff, so it's kind of like different from everything.
well, we can expand on that later.
And then Rita is a filmmaker, along with us at the school. I haven't really gotten the privilege to see a lot of her work. I've just seen one short thing that she did for the Women Make Media class, which is where I met her. And that's when she found out I was homeless, and she was like one of the people who consistently would come to me and say, "Are you still living in your car? Are you cold, And that's why I thought of her when I thought, we have this van and we need a place to park it. She's told me she has a piece of property, and she's cool. I told her when we were paying for our rent and arranging to come in here, well, we weren't paying then, but arranging to move in here, I said, so basically you take in homeless people? And she said, yeah. and that's a good thing. Because she understands. She understands from her own experience. And people who have been homeless get it. They don't sit there and go, oh, you're an immoral, dirty person. They say, oh my gosh, you've had some bad luck. Or, man, yeah, it's rough here in this town. Or it's just plain old rough everywhere, which is true. But it's rougher here.
Yeah, this
There are a few towns rougher, but LA, San Francisco, New York, yeah, those would be rougher. But we have comparable housing price, what's the word? Housing costs here to like San Francisco.
Yeah.
Here, would you throw that away? Okay, baby, I'm gonna put you, I need you under the light, so are you ready, honey? Because I'm ready. This is exciting. Do you want to take a little break first before we do this? Let's take a little break first.
Okay.
A 10-minute break, and maybe I'll do a little Daimoku. And,
That's a good idea.
Okay, and then we'll turn on the camera in a minute when we're ready to do some makeup on my muskrat prints. This is gonna be fun! I'm excited, baby. This is the shit that thrills me, and this is the shit I get to do with my sweetheart. And you know what? Nobody else ever let me do this stuff.
No,
They think it's frivolous. They think it's, why? You do something practical. I've been told once by a person who I really respect as a craftsperson. I mean, an artisan. Not, you know what I mean? A very, very talented carpenter who's passed away now. But one day I walked into his house and he laid a hammer on the counter and he was pissed as hell. And he said, "You tell me, if there was a book sitting right here and a hammer sitting right here, which one is more important?" And do you know the dilemma that created in me? Because the person I was talking to didn't value books at all. He valued that hammer, and that hammer is what mattered. It defined his life. For me, the book defines my life. We were at an impasse. And yet, I will say that when this person started seeing my paintings, he had an obvious admiration for it. Every time he would see me, he would compliment me and encourage me because he understood the creation of something beautiful. And that is the one time I got approval from that person who was a father figure. And I got approval from that, and I didn't even try. It was because I made something with my hands. What is that about? I don't know how that connected here, but what I'm trying to say is,
you were talking about frivolous versus practical,
Yeah.
Really, how do you define things in these terms? It's like,
what defines your life? Pragmatism, which is what defined his life. The hammer meant that he could create, he could build a house. He did build a house. The house we were standing in, he built. He didn't, I don't know if he built it from the ground up, but he certainly took what was there, and he didn't build it from the ground up. He took what was there and refurbished it and made it so much better. But he could build it. He built many houses. He was a carpenter. And he could do the electricity, the carpet, the woodworking like you've never seen before inside of a house. Oh my gosh, it was stunningly gorgeous. And he could do all of it, plumbing, everything. He did it. He didn't have to call the plumber. He got up in the morning and did it himself. I, on the other hand, this might be a slight exaggeration, but not much, can hardly turn on the water myself half the time. But I can create art. I can't figure out where my ass is half the time, but I can create beautiful works of art. So you can see why he felt like, why are you sitting there reading a book when you could create this house or this thing that somebody's gonna, like, now his wife is living in that house. He's dead, but
glad to know that there are people with that penchant for that kind of creating, building houses, doing constructive things with raw materials, which is basically what artists do in a different fashion. It appeals to a different side of a person's spirit, their soul. It's still edification. It's still as important as having a roof over your head.
Well, that's the question that he posed.
And maybe he has a deeper appreciation of it now than he saw.
Well, he's passed away, but he did. He did have a deeper appreciation.
I'm sorry, I thought you just said that he was living there, or is
no,
it
his wife
is
living in that house. He's dead, but he's provided for her for the rest of his life. He did that, and we're going to do the same thing for ourselves through our art. Yeah, but it's not. We're not going to build the house. We're building the house through a different avenue.
That's a good way of putting it. I was going to say different means or a different route. Yeah. But
the thing about what we're doing is, it's not short term. And maybe he would argue that it wasn't short term for him either. It took a lot of time, years, to do the things he did. But it's not short term. We can't go out and say, well, we ran around in the woods in our tights and makeup, and now we have a foundation for our house. We can't see that translate.
No.
Instead, we have to just trust that this is the foundation for our house. This is the foundation for our life. And the thing is, more practical people will look at us and go, what the fuck? Are you wasting your time? You're on food stamps. You're living off the government, and you guys are exactly who we hate. You guys are exactly who we hate because we're throwing money after foolishness.
Well, it's kind of like, give us a break, man. We're not sitting on our couch watching television, you know?
No, we're not shooting up heroin. We're not, well, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care. I think anybody deserves to eat. I don't care. You don't make a moral judgment on somebody being able to eat. The moral judgment is, if you think there's a moral judgment on somebody being able to eat, maybe you shouldn't be able to eat. And you probably won't be able to eat at some point in your life if you really think like that. And you'll be missing something at some point if you think like that. It's a basic human right to be able to eat. But we're not wasting what we're given. Yeah, we're eccentric. Yeah, we're weird. Yeah, we look like freaks half the time. Or more often than that. But the point is, we're fucking talented. We're talented, and we have, in the 60s, was it? 70s? 40s? Sometime in the past, I think it was the 40s, after World War II, they had something called the Artists Guild, or I don't know, what am I trying to say? Where the government gave the artists money to create. They gave them money, a stipend, a monthly stipend to live off of, so they could just spend their lives creating art. What the fuck happened?
That sounds like something that they would do in a sophisticated, like an advanced culture. Yeah, you know, like
and now
Greece, perhaps,
our artists are living in their cars and living on the streets, and
arts
they're still
are
creating.
First to go, left and right, no matter where you are.
That's one of the reasons I hate sports so much. I'm sorry, my sports-minded friends. Get over it, because you guys get all the money so you can run and chase a little ball all over the field wearing tights. Well, we wear tights, but we create beautiful shit. I mean, I'm sorry. We're saying something. We're not just running around mindlessly after a ball with big muscles, or maybe they don't even have muscles. I don't know. But we have muscles.
We do.
And we have brains. And maybe they have brains, but I don't know. I'm really dissing sports, but I'm sick of it. You guys get all the fucking money, and the artists have to scrounge on the ground for what they need. And we're contributing more greatness to the world than you guys are. Is that true?
Yeah.
It is.
I had to think about it for a second.
I didn't have to think about it, but I did ask
the question. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, it's only fair to answer the question honestly, and the honest answer is, if football fell off the face of the earth, we would probably actually be better off. All they do is beat each other up and promote violence. If art fell off the face of the earth, we would lose our humanity. We would lose our spirituality.
Well, I'm sure, talk about, you said the government used to give artists a stipend to...
And I can't remember what it was called. It's a program.
Well, I think, the government, if they're supporting anybody, they're supporting pro football at this point, because it's the distraction of the masses. It's like, oh, sure, the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket, but that's okay, because
some dude's wearing these tight pants and running around
can turn
on
on football and watch it and cheer for something. Oh, it's the most pathetic thing. Grown men cheering for their team. It's like, your team? What are you talking about? And they have this personal association with this group of men that runs around in tights and chases after a ball. And it's sort of like they're patriotic about their football team.
It is patriotism. It's nationalism.
As long as their team is winning, everything's okay in the world, It's like...
I was almost mad. I'll tell you who I love. I love U2. I love Bono. But the day that he stood up in front of the whole frickin' Super Bowl and opened his jacket and showed the flag of the United States, I had two responses. One was, that dude is so fucking cool. And the other one was, what? You sold out.
Yeah.
You sold out. You're promoting nationalism.
That is kind of weird.
I am not a nationalistic person. I am not a patriot in the sense of that strict sense. I come from people who are flag wavers and stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance, and I sit down. Or I'll stand up, but I don't want to cause a riot. But I'll stand up, but I don't put my hand on my heart, and I don't pledge allegiance to a fucking flag. A flag is meaningless. A fucking country is meaningless. Human beings are what matter, you guys. And if you can't get that straight, all your chasing around a pigskin ball is fucking of no contribution to the world. So, anyway, now that we've insulted our whole audience, want to watch me put makeup on Darren?
I have to insult one more person first. Who's that dude that did that? This chaos and mayhem and death and destruction is brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue.
Who is that? Toby Keith?
Yeah, that's just moronic. Perfect
Toby
example
Keith,
of
go get a life.
the very-
If you're pro-war, you're just wasting your life on this planet. What are you doing? Why don't you go over there and risk your life instead of living in some mansion singing bad country music? I mean, you've got talent and you're wasting it.
Not only wasting it, doing a whole
causing
lot of damage in the process. Of
I don't know. Can we
actually
get sued for
encouraging
this?
people to-
Probably.
I don't think so. This is free speech.
Yeah,
Consider
well,
what
freedom
we
of
want.
speech is what we're over there killing ourselves so you can have.
Right. As if.
I'm a redneck. I know how to talk like a redneck. I come from a long line of rednecks. I have a redneck. I am a redneck, so I can make fun of you. You guys are rednecks. I grew up on Johnny Cash. I grew up in the country. In the country, surrounded by fields, climbing trees, running through the wheat fields, running through the cornfields. I have a right to criticize you. I know what you are. And you could be so much better, and that stuff is bullshit. Toting guns around, being a racist, pro-war.
Taking pride in the massacre of, people who
People of
aren't
color.
from, like, within these borders. What the fuck? It's just retarded. And
And-
not in a good way.
No, we're retards in a good way. You guys are retards in a bad way. And you give retards a bad name.
You give retards a bad name. Well, they
And if
do.
you think that that means... And the thing is, they associate it with Jesus and with God.
Oh, I know.
It's like, oh, so you really think God wants you to be racist and hate other people based on their skin color? You really think God wants you to withhold food from the poor? God didn't say, Jesus didn't say, oh, well, give food to the poor, but unless you think they're taking advantage of the system, then don't do it. If they're on drugs, no, make sure you withhold that. No, we have an
Whatever
obligation
it
to
is,
care
yeah.
for all people. All people have basic human rights, and guess what? Food is one of them, water is one of them, clothing is one of them, housing is one of them, and safety. Safety is one of them. Freedom from violence. Those are just a few of them off the top of my head I can think of.
Well, we live in a culture that promotes all that stuff instead of trying to
Yeah,
protect people from it.
yeah, and if you're part of
reserve
that,
people from it.
we have a freedom to walk down the street without having a gun pointed in our faces. Throw your guns away. I'm so sick of them. And the people who fucking promote that shit. And thank goodness the last time I made a post on Facebook, nobody got in my face. Because they know that I'm going to fight them to the death. Well, is
Just
that
not
kind
literally.
of ironic? I feel as passionately against guns, more passionately against guns than they do for guns. Because nobody can really believe that shit. I know that. Nobody
Well,
believes
you're
that
like-
shit.
You're like Gandhi in that sense. He was a fighter to the death, but he
Yeah.
didn't use a gun to
No.
prove his talking. It's like-
I am a violent person. That's exactly why I think there shouldn't be any guns. Imagine how many times you and I would be dead by now if we had a gun.
and we're not gun
nonviolent.
activists.
We're nonviolent. We're violent, nonviolent activists. But
Yeah.
that's the point. We know what a person can do at the spur of a moment.
It's true.
He and I are fucking passionate, intense people. If we had a gun, we'd probably have our guts splattered all over this van several times over by now.
It's sadly true.
And
So we're
it'd
not
make
gonna
for
get a
great
gun.
drama, but only for a short time, you know. It's sick. Well, I think we want to start over this clip because we're probably going to be wise about when we post this because we got to have an audience to offend before we start offending everybody.
I sort of agree with that, and I sort of think offending people is gonna help us build an audience. I don't know. We'll talk about that.
It's real. What we're saying
Yeah.
is true from our hearts. That's for damn sure. We're not making this shit up. We're
not saying anything to be offensive. We just realize
It's not
that when you say
sensationalistic.
certain things that
people
go
get
against
offended.
the grain, people get
Oh,
offended.
don't kill people. Oh, I'm so offended. How dare
No.
you? I'm going to leave. I've had people leave a family get together because I told them, and this is someone I really loved, a relative, no, you can't skin people alive if they do something bad. No, that's really contrary to logic.
Your family and my family would appear to have some things in common.
Well,
So- but
all
maybe
of these
that's most families.
have
yeah.
things in
It's like-
common. They're taught the shit. They're made to believe that there's truth to it, and there's absolutely no fucking truth to it.
And it's not
Burn
based
your
in
guns. Go melt them
anything
down
like
into
reason.
something.
Yeah.
Anything would be better. A doorstop. You know?
See, in light of this sort of just absurdity, you shouldn't be surprised that people didn't get your paper. Your
Makes me want to cry though. We're like aliens dropped on this fucking warped planet, and we know certain things that are true.
and we're not alone. We're not alone. We may be even a breed apart from
We're not
the
better
people
than
who,
other people, though.
get it.
But
or
we
at
just
least
see
are more
things.
likely to get it. I mean, I think you and I are genuinely aliens. But I don't know. There are plenty of people out there that are going to get it.
Yeah.
And it's like once those people meet us.
And I
then
do have
other
friends
people
that are
will start to-
anti-gun, and I love them for that. They may not get Buddhism, they may not get me and as a person, but they get that. And that's a lot.
Right.
But you know what? When I met
Nobody's
you, I
passionate.
had no idea that you had the beliefs you have.
Mm.
And they are so in line with mine that it makes me love you and trust you even more, because someone who's got a gun in the closet, whether it's literal or metaphorical, is a worry to me. They don't have something really important figured out. That there is no justification for killing another person with a gun. Or at all. I'm not saying that I don't understand violence. I understand it maybe better than
Maybe
most.
too well.
That's why I don't want guns. It's that, and I'm not denying my own violence. That's when violence really has you, when you deny your own violence. But I'm glad that there are days that I haven't had a gun.
Yeah, me too.
I wish that they were all wiped off the face of the earth. I have no mixed feelings or ambiguity, almost no ambiguity about guns. I love westerns. That's the only thing. You can't hardly have a western without a gun. But my western that I'm writing, and which goes back to this whole being misunderstood about my screenplay, my character is living in a violent world. And he is participating in that violent world. But he has a conscience. He is thinking about it all along the way. Remember the first story?
Yeah.
And he says, I will do this, but I don't feel good about it. And he has instant karma, if you notice.
I'd like to read that first one again.
Okay.
I very much would like to read it again, especially now that I've read the other two more recently.
I would someday like to read what you're working on, but we'll postpone that till the right time.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, I'd really like to read some of your screenplays that you have done.
Cool.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so art is better than sports, guns are bad, rednecks need to open their minds, nationalism is horrible, it's killing people, and people who act like that are acting stupid. So quit it. Now we're going to put makeup on Darren and let him run around in the woods in tights and prove to you guys that what we're doing, all those food stamps and all that welfare is going to something good.
All that $25 a month.
Yeah. You need to go apply for yours. Plus,
I
we need to do
know.
the light heap thing. We
Right.
definitely need to do it with as much electricity as we're using.
I wonder how much we're really using. I don't know.
Probably a lot. Knowing us, we're running up a bill that's sky high and we can't pay it. But by the time it gets here, we'll be able to pay it.
Yeah.
Because the universe loves us. We're artists. We create just like the universe does all the time. We're awesome. So if you don't like it, you can set on attack.
Ow.
Set on attack.
Ow.
Set on attack. Do you notice that I called them the devil? I think that kind of thinking is devilish. Well, if you don't like it,
Sit on attack. Ow.
or they could sue us. That's a great idea, you guys. Sue some people who live in a van and who promote peace. That makes you a warped, sick puppy for even thinking of that.
Yeah. What's wrong
Yeah,
with you?
bye. You're warped.